I've used a lot of meal services, but Hungry Root truly stands out because it's built around the way real families live and eat. They don't just send meal kits. They personalize your grocery cart and meal plan based on your preferences and dietary goals. All I had to do was take a short quiz, and right away, their smart cart technology started building a cart that fit how we eat. Now, each week feels easier, like someone else is doing the thinking for me. I've been focused on cleaner eating lately, and I love that Hungry Root keeps out over 200 additives, including things like high fructose corn syrup and artificial sweeteners. Their meats are hormone and antibiotic free, and the produce options include organic and non GMO picks. They also stock brands I already trust, like Oatly, Vital Farms, and Harmless Harvest. One of our favorite meals has been the teriyaki salmon with green beans, light, flavorful, and done in 12 minutes flat. Plus, I've noticed we waste less food, spend less time shopping, and even save money by skipping those impulse grocery buys. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg and use code Dr. Meg. That's hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg. Code Dr. Meg to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg. Code Dr. Meg.
On today's episode of Parenting Great Kids.
I was in group therapy with people who had reasons to be depressed while I didn't. I grabbed my car keys one day in San Jose in Silicon Valley, and I snuck out of the house and I went to the Golden Gate Bridge with the intention to end my life by jumping off. And I was driving recklessly. I was near the bridge. I was approaching the bridge and I got a flat tire.
This is Parenting Great Kids with Dr. Meg Meeker.
Today we're talking with Allie Marie Smith, life coach, speaker, and author of the new book, Social Media Reset. Allie has walked this road herself, and now she's inviting women and girls to unplug, reconnect with God, and rediscover the joy we've been missing by trading screen time for real time with God, ourselves, and the people we love. That's a big introduction. Allie, thanks for coming on today.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Meg. It's an honor to join you again. And I have to say, I'm so grateful for the work you do. You are an expert voice, and I refer many parents to your work. And so it's an honor to be here. And you're making an impact more than you know.
Well, thank you so much. Right back at you. I always say it takes a lot of people linking arms to build that wall to move forward. And I really appreciate what you're doing. Also, you're very personal about it. You talk openly. Your new book is very personal. Let's back up a little bit and talk about what led you to write Social Media Reset and how your own experience with depression and social media got you to that point.
Sure. Well, I was honored to be a guest on your podcast before, and I did do a deep dive into my story. I will give the Cliff Notes version because everything I do, all the work I do has been birthed out of my personal experience. So I was raised in Silicon Valley to wonderful parents, a hardworking, high-achieving culture, great family. I had a world of opportunity. I was feisty. I was confident as a little girl. I was constantly playing sports outside, red in the face, sweaty. It was a beautiful childhood. However, around the age of 12, like many girls today, I started to experience these uninvited feelings of sadness, loneliness, unworthiness. It didn't add up. I had never experienced any childhood trauma. I had everything a girl could want. And that made me feel worse because it seemed like I didn't have a reason to be depressed. And I didn't know what depression was. It was my normal. I remember every birthday I would just cry with sadness. And I entered high school and I coped like many girls today through perfectionism, overachieving. I have a very successful mother, and I love her dearly, and she has inspired me to succeed professionally. It was a high pressure culture that I grew up in. I went to all girls Catholic school. We were so focused on getting straight A's, going to an elite college. So I was a standout soccer player, at one point the captain of the soccer team, dating the captain of the football team at the all
Yeah.
school. Part of it.
Textbook.
Yeah,
Textbook overachiever.
yes, yes. And on the outside, I had everyone fooled, and it looked like I was a nice girl who had it all together. And the truth was, I was fighting a very difficult battle. Every day I would wake up and just wonder if I could even make it through the day. And no one knew. It was really a hidden struggle. I remember when I was driving home, I was engrossed in the party culture. Unfortunately, I didn't know there was a better way to live. I remember maybe my junior year driving home from a football game. And for the first time, imagining, what if I just crashed my car into the off ramp? And it got worse. So 2 weeks after I graduated with highest honors, summa cum laude, with an acceptance awaiting me from a very prestigious college on the East Coast, I absolutely came undone. And I found myself in a deep depression. It was so bad, Dr. Meg. I was basically catatonic. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't talk. And I was admitted to the psychiatric hospital, the girl who appeared like she had it all together. And of course, our mental health system is very broken. So I was put on antidepressants, sent home 3 days later after promising the doctor I would not harm myself. And of course,
and that's classic. That's
Yes.
classic, by the way.
Yes.
Hospitals are there, and once you get in, they work as hard as they can to get you out.
Yes.
And when it comes to mental health, it's not different. For those I have experienced a deep depression as well. It lasted for 2 years.
I'm sorry.
You feel like there's this film between you and the wall, and you're not really part of what's going on around. If, to the best of your ability, can you describe what your body and your heart and your mind feel like when you're depressed? Because there may be somebody listening who has depression but doesn't even know it.
I will say it in one sentence. My body was alive, but there was no life within me. I was dead inside. There was no light. The only thing I could think about was solving my sadness, my depression by killing myself. Side note, I have the privilege and honor to pour into many young girls. Currently, I am mentoring a beautiful, intelligent, lovely 12-year-old girl whose mind is filled with thoughts of ending her life. And the gravity of what is happening today. When I went through my struggle, I didn't know any young woman. I didn't know any adult who had ever been hospitalized for depression. I didn't know anything about suicide. And today it is becoming the norm, Dr. Meg. 1 in 3 teen girls are seriously contemplating attempting suicide. 3 in 5 are persistently sad and hopeless. I'll get to the root of how social media is causing that. I want to go back to my story. So I promised the doctor I wouldn't hurt myself. I was in group therapy with people who had reasons to be depressed while I didn't. I grabbed my car keys one day in San Jose in Silicon Valley, and I snuck out of the house and I went to the Golden Gate Bridge with the intention to end my life by jumping off. And I was driving recklessly. I was near the bridge. I was approaching the bridge and I got a flat tire. And I remember,
praise God.
I remember sitting in that car. I hadn't talked to anyone for a couple months. And suddenly there was a knock on my window. And I can't remember what his face looked like. I remember he had beautiful silver hair. He had a warm smile, a light in his eyes. And he came and he talked to me and he asked if he could help me. I remember he was driving probably a 1960s, 70s vintage Mercedes-Benz. And there was a single bumper sticker on the car and it said Navy. Well, my brother had just left for the Naval Academy. And I asked him a question after not talking to weeks. And I asked him about a sticker and I told him about my brother. And that gave me a little hope in my heart. So I returned home. That was not the end of my struggles. A therapist was who was misinformed, gave my parents terrible advice, said, it's good for her to go to college right now. It's going to be good for her.
Oh,
Mhm.
stop. Did you talk to us about your parents and what was going on with them, all this? Did they recognize at all any signs of depression in you?
No. No one suspected. I remember talking to some of my friends from high school and they said, "Wow, I would never think. We had no
Mhm.
idea." No one knew. I hid it. I worked so
Would you have
hard.
felt would
And
you
my
have felt comfortable going to either of your parents or somebody and say, "Something's terribly wrong with me and I don't know what it is"?
I had been actually, now that I recall, I had been talking to my mom and explaining, actually, this just came back to me. I've been talking to my mom and she really wanted to help me. She didn't know the gravity of it. She found me a male therapist who had been recommended. He worked in Stanford and I went to him and he basically told me, I don't understand why people are depressed. They should just move somewhere else and start their
He
lives
said
over
that to
again.
you?
Mhm. Yes.
Note to audience, there are a whole lot of bad therapists out there, so be very careful who you find, correct? Am I right, Allie?
Correct. Yes, and I have my first article coming out with Focus on the Family. I hope to write many more, and a future article I hope to have is "A therapist is not your daughter's savior." So later that fall, because of this second therapist's bad advice, my parents moved me back east to Villanova University in Philadelphia, 3,000 miles away. I was so overwhelmed, I stopped taking my medication. The Prozac had kind of lifted me out of it. I fell into deep depression again. I walked out to the railroad tracks and just couldn't stop thinking about ending my life. I got into a very dangerous place. I was not thinking clearly. I was really out of my mind. My dad had to fly back, bring me home. I was hospitalized again for 3 weeks, September 2001. I watched the Twin Tower attacks from the hospital chapel room. I was so confused. I believe that I had caused
Yeah.
them.
That's confusing.
I was put on I was put on medication and my brain is very responsive to medication. I have a lot of mental health, alcoholism in my family. And as soon as I got on medication, within a week or so, the desire to no longer live was beginning to fade. I was desperate for hope. I had always loved God, always believed in God. I asked for a Bible. And I pored over the Gospels and I met Jesus personally for the first time. And I saw he loved the broken. He came to give them hope and belonging. Wild story. Nick Jamaica, this is a Hollywood movie potential. A young man who was in the hospital put a bomb threat
Oh,
on the hospital. And so all the doctors and nurses escorted us to the hospital chapel room. I walked in, one of the patients, a beautiful woman, began to sing Amazing Grace, and the desire to no longer live was fading. And through whispered prayer, I completely surrendered my life to Christ and I stopped living for myself and I started living for him. That was the moment my life radically changed. Did I experience depression again? Yes, I did when I was in college, a beautiful college right on the water in Southern California. And I had another suicide attempt because I felt like, God had abandoned me. God radically saved my life. I very well cannot be here. I'm going to draw and I started Wonderfully Made, the nonprofit organization at the age of 20. And God had given me a huge vision, nationwide global vision. And It is happening, Dr. Meg, right now more than ever. We plan to lead a transformative revolution revival among teen girls and women to bring them from the darkness into God's marvelous light. I cannot believe the army of women who are surrounding us. The doors are opening. I can't keep up with what God is doing. It is surreal. I wake up today and I cannot believe the beautiful life I have. And because God saved my life, I was so close to losing my life. I don't want to go into the details. It was horrible. And God saved my life. My life is God's to live. This is not my life. And I'm so serious. I don't want to waste a single second. And the number one thing in my life, apart from my relationship with God, is my mental health. It comes before being a good wife, because if I don't have that, I am not a good wife. I am not a good daughter, friend. I am not a good CEO, leader, speaker, author. And so because of that, when I got social media right in college, 2004, I enjoyed how it allowed me to keep in touch with high school friends, share photos, updates. I got an Instagram account in 2010, right when it came out. And I enjoyed it. My first photo was the port of San Francisco, after my family and husband had this beautiful day, and coming back from Sausalito on the ferry, I snapped this photo, and I loved it. It was a memento of a day I never wanted to forget. And it sits at the bottom of my Instagram feed with 0 likes and 0 comments. The algorithms change. Ads were brought into place. They began to study us, learn all about us. They began to create it. They hired human behavioral scientists to intentionally design it to be addictive, to prey upon our God-given desire to be liked, seen, known, belong, to keep us on these apps as long as possible. Giving us a dopamine hit equivalent to drugs, gambling. And we have handheld slot machines on our hands. They have become nothing. I'm going to make the claim that nothing has fundamentally changed our world in 21 years as social media. And overall, it has not been for the good. And I realized I had an addiction. I had it on my phone. I was constantly picking up every time I was bored. I would fall asleep to scrolling the lives of friends, strangers, and I would hide the phone under my covers if I couldn't sleep, grab it in the middle of the night. I would wake up scrolling, first thing, to other people's lives. I began to realize I was making me feel anxious, sad, bummed out with my life.
Did it trigger your depression again, do you think?
It did not trigger clinical depression. God had radically changed my life. And I was doing really well. I was thriving. It absolutely made me feel not as happy, anxious, envious, missing out on other things. It made me very self-absorbed. And that's something we don't talk a lot about. I realized in my life, the more self-absorbed I have been, the more unwell I have been. And it was taking over my life.
Well,
I thought about it constantly.
And I think that's classic. I think that's classic for people. As you said, it's designed to keep you looking. I mean, once you start looking at, YouTube shorts or reels, you can't stop, because they're crazy, they're ridiculous, they're funny, they're sad. And there's part of us that wants desperately to connect with them. I want to make a statement here for those who are listening. I think that many times those who are not engaged in the church, or, not close with God or something, hear that if I go and surrender my life to Christ, boom, my depression's gone. That's not true.
Yes.
You know that moment when your child lights up because something finally clicks? That's what every parent wants, to see their child thrive. But when school just isn't the right fit, that joy can fade. That's why I want to tell you about K-12 powered schools. These are tuition-free, accredited online public schools for kindergarten through 12th grade. They're designed to meet your child where they are so they can learn at their own pace, in their own space, and a curriculum that fits their unique learning style. And here's what sets it apart. This isn't homeschooling. You're not the teacher. K-12's state-certified online educators are trained to make lessons interactive and engaging using innovative technology. And your child still gets social experiences, clubs, extracurriculars, even in-person events. K-12 has helped over 3 million families give their kids the tools to thrive, and they've been doing it for more than 25 years. It could be exactly what your child needs. Visit k12.com/Dr. Meg to find a tuition-free K-12 powered school near you and enroll today. That's k12./DRMEG, all caps. Some days, parenting feels like chasing moments that never quite land. You ask a question, they shrug. You try again, they look at their screen. And you wonder, why is this so hard? That's why I love FamGabs. It's a 70-card deck created by a child therapist who spent 16 years working directly with families, helping parents and kids break through the awkward one-word answers and really connect. The questions are open-ended, thoughtfully chosen, and designed to get your child talking and keep the conversation going. There are even bonus cards just for parents to help you build your confidence in your connection toolbox. If you've ever wished for a better way to understand your child or just to have more meaningful conversations as a family, FamGabs is such a gift. Search FamGabs on Amazon and use promo code DrMegPod during checkout to get 10% off your order. That's FamGabs on Amazon. Use promo code DrMegPod and get 10% off your order.
Depression is a very real mental and physical illness. And as you said, you gave your life to Christ and became close to God, but a big part of your depression stayed. God gives us many, many, many tools to come out of depression. I just don't want listeners to hear, oh, all I need to do is pray for God and he'll shift everything around. It's usually not how he works, but he is a huge part of the recovery process. So I just wanted to state that because I don't want people to hear what we're not saying.
Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, absolutely. I came to Christ. He radically transformed my life. My mental health, depression was beginning to lift. I went to another very prestigious college in Southern California, right on the water. And it came back. It felt like God had abandoned me. I thought Jesus was the solution. I would never have any issues again. I didn't know the verse that we will have trouble in this world. And no one told me. And so when I found myself in a very deep depression again, I said, God, I don't understand. I thought you've healed me. And I felt so abandoned. I really did. It was very difficult, but God carried me through it. And today that's a big part of my message is I tell people, we're going to experience suffering, illness. This is an illness. It's often not in our control, but God will use it one day. The Psalm speaks so much of how He will set us on a firm foundation, how He will hear us or heal us, how He will not let us be put to shame. And so, yeah, it's absolutely. So back to social media, I decided I wasn't gonna let it rob me of my life. And so I did one simple thing that is so easy. And I took the apps, I deleted them off my phone, and I had an iPad and a computer, and I would access them there. It's really not that difficult. In order to have joy like no one else, we have to live like no one else. We are called not to conform to the soul-crushing patterns of this world.
What difference did it make moving from your phone to an iPad? Did you still have the apps on an iPad?
I did. I would not carry an iPad with me.
I see.
Mhm.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's the same. It is a drug. It's designed to be addictive. It's the same idea of an alcoholic going to the bar, having alcohol in his or her cabinets. It's the same thing. It is a
So when
drug.
you pulled away from social media, so I assume on your iPad, you couldn't get onto social media anymore, correct? So when you
Yeah.
decided to give up social media, um, how did it feel and what did your friends say? Because I think that a lot of parents out there feel they need to allow their 12, 13, 14-year-old girls to have social media because everyone else
Mhm.
does, and they don't want their kid to be left out or to be the odd one. So you stepped into that odd place. You were older, of course,
Mhm.
but how was that transition for you?
Yeah, I was probably 29. It was in 2010 or a couple of years, a year or so after, maybe 2012, I took them off my phone and I experienced more peace, calm, excitement about my life, more gratitude. Yeah, I still used it. And when I did, it really didn't make me feel that great. So after I took it off my phone, I set even stricter boundaries. I resolved that I would never look at the search and explore section that would bring up beautiful women with babies that I didn't have or bodies that
Oh,
I didn't have, so I no longer looked at
depressing.
that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I yeah, I would not wake up to it. I would not use it in the morning, not use it in the evenings. I never went out. Well, I didn't. I mean, not all the time. Of course, I would slip. I wasn't perfect. I decided I wasn't going to look at it on the weekends. Of course, anytime I took a photo, a video, I would never post it in real time. I would post it days, weeks, months after, and everyone would be like, "Oh, you just went to the beach." I'm like, "Actually, that was like 3
Yeah.
weeks ago." And my hope is a social media reset is a
Mhm.
solution. God downloaded this book to me. It is every word in there is his. I go back and I'm like, I don't remember writing that. It's filled with verses. And so research has shown that maybe 3, 4 a week off social media immediately decreases stress, anxiety, depression, increases gratitude, happiness. So I want to empower moms, dads, girls, kids that God gives us freedom. We have agency and it's only up to us. Are we going to let a couple apps on our phone, a pixelated virtual world, um, make us unhappy?
I've never met a young woman or a girl who feels good after being on social media.
Mhm.
They don't go off and go, "Oh, that was great. I was so relaxed. I got a lot of energy." You hear the exact opposite. Girls who spend a lot of
Yep.
time on it are become depressed. They become anxious. They start to look down on themselves. Their self-esteem plummets because they're not as beautiful or have the boyfriend that all of their friends do. Social media is a show-off zone. And
Yes.
those who are showing off are trying to manipulate you. They don't mean it, but even friends, okay, even best friends can
Hmm.
get on Instagram and show pictures of how their lives are wonderful. Even if they know their best friend is going to be looking at them, subconsciously there's a sense that, see, my life is a little bit better than yours. Nobody gets on there to say, gee whiz, I need help and I've got depression. I don't know where to go. And I think that nothing like that can have a positive effect. But I think that one of the troubles that I run into with parents, I have this conversation all the time is, um, my kid can handle it. They're a good kid. Problem number one. Or, you know what? It really isn't that bad. I think you're exaggerating. Or, my kid can control it. I tell them they can only be on an hour a day and they know that. So they're going to get off after an hour a day. And those are things parents want to believe, but they're 100% not true. Can you just touch down on those for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell a few stories. So a neighbor, their son randomly started flunking his classes. He became disengaged. He wouldn't really talk. He withdrew. And so they took him to psychiatrists. They took him to counselors. Well, they ended up finding out he was on his phone for hours at night in his bedroom alone instead of sleeping.
Well, no. I mean, he could have been
That was
looking
the
at
test.
porn. I mean, there
Oh,
everything is in your hands. The world is in your hands. Good stuff, bad
yes.
stuff, nice people, creepers.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Meg, it's not just about the kids, it's about the parents. The article I have coming out with Focus on the Family says how a social media break can make you a better parent. Well, I opened that article saying, did you know that you can now die with more memories of other people's kids than of your own? And I make a clear case and I say, well, if an average adult spends 2.3 hours on scrolling on social media, they have an average of 6.7 social media apps. And people scroll at a rate of 2 seconds per post. I will even say split second post. I see people scrolling and it's like this. And so 2 seconds a post for 2 hours, over 2 hours, comes out to seeing about an average of 4,200 images, posts, videos a day. You multiply that by 30, that is 126,000 posts, images, and over 1.5 million a year. So say that a third of the photos you watch are of your friends, their families, their kids. I want to ask parents, how many photos of your children did you look at today? And when you take photos of your children, are you taking them and then looking at the photo to imprint it on your mind so that you cherish this sacred moment with your kids? Or are you immediately posting it on the spot live to social media for your followers, for strangers, for people to
Well,
see?
and that's a whole nother conversation.
It is,
because
yeah.
photographing your child over and over is very bad for them. And
Yes.
I'd like to talk about that. Can you reiterate how many hours a day the average kid is on social media?
Sure. For girls, it's an average of 5.3 hours. However, many girls, they live their lives through their phone, and many of them are spending 8, 9 hours a day on their phones because they are constantly on them every in between moment. They are living a phone-based life, not a play-based life that one Jonathan Haidt recommends. And so boys spend about 4.4 hours. I want to make the distinction: girls use it very differently than boys. Girls use it because they are looking for validation, approval, to be seen, liked, to get followers. They compare themselves, they objectify their own body, they objectify other women, they sexualize themselves. And boys are not impacted by it the way girls are. Boys use it for entertainment, to video games, to get news, to watch funny videos. Teen girls, I will say, from the beginning of time, we know that women have been spiritually oppressed, physically oppressed worldwide. You look at women in the Middle East, what is happening in Africa, in our own country, our own neighborhoods with sex trafficking, sexual exploitation. So that oppression has been with us in the world since the beginning of time. But I will say that teen girls, women, have never been so spiritually oppressed as they are now. The suicide rate among young people ages 10 to 24 increased 62%. However, around for girls, it increased over 145%, the suicide rate, since social media came out 2010. And the case is, it's not, they used to say, oh, it's just correlated. No, it is causing it. It is causing it.
It's a cause and effect. And we do have great data that shows that there is a direct correlation between amount of time spent on social media and depression. And parents really need to wrap their minds around that because this is a very real phenomenon. Going back to the numbers, I asked you to repeat those numbers because if we see the average amount of time a girl is on social media is 5 hours, I would ask parents, how many hours a day are they with you interacting? Probably less than an hour, where you're sitting and talking or doing something together. And now think about that. Social media is going to have a bigger impact on their development potentially than you do. And social media is their private world. They can live in that without you having any clue what's going on. So even that alone, recognizing, I read somewhere, and I believe this is true, that social media, maybe Instagram, is the number one place where girls get sex trafficked, where they're groomed and
Absolutely.
plucked out. Have you
Yes.
read that?
Oh, yeah. And I've had the honor of working directly with survivors of sex trafficking. I recall one girl, she looked like she could be my daughter. Beautiful, smart, kind. She was preyed upon and fell into child pornography, and it ruined her. And so she had to, leave her house and be in this residential home. It is so traumatic. What sex predators do, they'll send direct messages. They'll pretend to be this really good looking guy, and they say, "Hey, you're so beautiful. You should be a model."
Mhm.
And they start and, what girl doesn't want to think she wants to, be a model? And they groom and they groom. They say, "Hey, I'll meet you up. I'll take you for dinner." And before they know it, "Oh, I'll move in with me. I'll take care of you." These are vulnerable girls who come from broken homes, absent fathers, and they are preyed upon over and over again. Today, most sex trafficking among girls is through social media. The real world is not as dangerous.
We always envision that the predators drive by your house and pluck your kids out of your yard, but that doesn't happen very often at all. What really happens is on social media because these creepers know
Yep.
exactly how to woo young girls. I understand you. This is terrible. And I think that fact alone should sober parents and say, not for my kid. Allie, we've run out of time. I could do a whole nother show on this.
I'd be happy to come back.
Thank you. Because before we go, I want to talk about Wonderfully Made, and maybe we could talk all about that. You're the CEO of Wonderfully Made. It's a fabulous national nonprofit that helps girls and women discover their God-given value, and it helps them have a vibrant mental health. You started it. Can you give us a 2-sentence
Yeah.
summary of it?
Yeah. We are on a rescue mission to help girls and women know their value, to save girls' lives from suicide, to radically transform our culture. And we are doing this so many ways. I could go into it, but our website is wonderfullymade.org. We are the go-to resource for mental health, biblically based mental health resources. We have events. We do a podcast. I go into it. We are purchasing social media ads through YouTube, and for 0.2 cents, I come on a video instead of an ad, and I share, "Hey, you're wonderfully made. God loves you. He has a purpose for you." And I tell them my story. The average watch time for ads are usually, 5-second skip. Our average watch time for these ads is 1 minute, 10 seconds.
Love it.
It is transformative, and we're just getting started.
So Wonderfully Made is the real deal, and I'm sure you're reaching people internationally as well. You
Oh,
need
yeah.
help. Wonderfully Made is a fabulous nonprofit. So if there's anybody out there listening who says, I could help them, I could write for them, I could support them, I could do whatever for them, I could work on their website. There's so many needs that a nonprofit has, not just money, but of course you need money as well. So I would I'd encourage every mom and dad out there listening, go to Wonderfully Made and see how you can help. Allie, this has been absolutely fabulous. Your latest book, Social Media Reset, a 30-day guided journey to unplug Reconnect with God and Reclaim Your Joy comes out July 2025. So best of luck for you, and please keep up this amazing work.
Thank you, Dr. Mink, for your support and the work you do. I'm so grateful. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. I want you to know that I am so excited to be offering the PGK Insider. This is a place that I really want you to participate because we have a community here, and that is that we are all together. We're not doing this parenting journey all by ourselves. I want this to be a place where you can find solid answers, and you don't have to agree with me. That's perfectly fine. My job here is not to tell you what to do. My job is to give you solid answers so that I can help you parent your way, not my way. Just go to my website, meekerparenting.com, and sign up today. You won't be sorry.